Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got this Craftsman 30-inch riding mower. Customer brought it in and said they think it may just need a spark plug. Now, you don't exactly have to be an expert to see this might need just a little bit more than a spark plug. Well, they said they got given to it by a neighbor who was moving, so they weren't exactly sure, but they didn't have any of the parts to go along with it. Looks like it may be missing quite a bit, but we're gonna check this thing out, see if we can't figure out what went wrong and get it all taken care of. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button as we go along if you enjoy the content. It looks like they have the ignition coil completely disconnected. At least the bolts are still there. Air filter is here, but none of the housing or anything's here at all on this thing. It's all missing. As we come around, one of the very first things I noticed is the safety switch is below the guard. I've got a couple videos on this. This just pops under and then it doesn't think the safety's on and it won't start. That's a possible cause for the reason that they tore all this apart to begin with. It's kind of hard telling, but just off first glance, I called and I said, hey, do you have all the covers and everything for this? And that's when she told me about just getting it from somebody who was moving. Seat's been taken off, the cowling's all completely loose. The battery is disconnected. So we're gonna hook this battery back up and kind of work our way towards it. At least there's a rock collection on the deck, so that's a good sign. Got a couple new bolts, washers, and nuts, just standard 1/4 20. Looks like the throttle cable's all loose on that too. You do want to do the positive first when you're tightening these down, just to make sure you don't spark back to ground. I did it opposite, but didn't touch any metal or anything. Not really a whole lot to touch except for your throttle cable here. We'll get the coil done and then we'll grab a key and see exactly what this thing tries to do. Take these out. You do not have to clean that magnet. It does not affect the magnetism, but I'm gonna clean it just for good measure here. The only reason you really need to clean it is to get that spacing right, which honestly is not exactly something that's too critical of an area anyway. I'm gonna sand the contact points here up too, where the coil contacts the engine block. Just get a good connection. That is more important than sanding that magnet up. Usually this comes back up on top just about like such. Clips in, keep it out of the way. Rotate our magnet around and we're gonna space it to exactly 10 thousandths, which is what one of our business cards is. Close enough to it anyway. I'll rip it in half. Fan's in the way. Go ahead and take it out, make sure the spacing's good. Looks perfect. Haven't checked the gas or anything, so let me do that real quick. There is gas in it. It does smell pretty stale though, so we may have to do some carb work. We will go ahead and push this side piece back in, just so it is up against there just for now, for the testing. Got a key, just a miscellaneous one. See what the battery test at. Got 12.43 on the battery. Push our parking brake and lock it in. Right now I don't have any good way to secure my throttle cable, so I'm just going to go all the way forward. I'm not sure that I have those bolts or maybe a lot of the other ones. Doesn't sound like it wants to do much. Gonna give it just a little bit of carb cleaner down in the intake, see if we can't get it to fire up. Fired up and died instantly. Try it again. Well, it's definitely not a spark plug issue, as you see. Spark plug's fine. Everything here is fine. The electrical allows it to start as it is, but we're having a carburetor issue now. Was that the original issue? Good question, but we're gonna pull that carb off and see what's going on. To get to this carburetor, we've got a couple 1/2" bolts on either side that go through this whole support bracket, and then we've got 2 3/8 that go over this cover. This is all gonna come back and off. This one's all bent, but pay attention to which way yours goes on. This isn't going to go back on pretty no matter the situation. And we've got our 2 3/8. These are they've got a little shoulder on them. And this plastic piece just comes straight off. Now's a good time to take a look at all your belts and everything. These things look in perfect shape, luckily, because otherwise they'd be spending quite a bit of money on something like this. I'm just going to grab our 2 10mm nuts off the front. And then we've got a hose in the back that just pulls straight off. It's got a little hose clamp on it. And then there's also a line that goes to the tank. That's the EPA vent line. Then the intake comes straight off, along with our intake gasket. Now we've got our fuel line. It's got a clip on it. I'm going to rotate it around so I can get to it. Squeeze and pull, and then for the line I'm just going to grab it and kind of twist and then pull it straight off. Get a bucket to drain it in down below. I'm going to drain all this fuel since I don't know where it's coming from or where it came from, and also how long it's been sitting. Actually doesn't look like horrible fuel. On these, you can remove this a few different ways. What I like to do is I actually like to just take this choke mechanism out here. Wow, that's all completely gummed up real bad. I like to just go ahead and take it out. Normally you can just take the choke off and it'll come out real easily, but I'm not worried about ruining it right now because likely this carburetor is going to need replaced by the looks of it. I mean, that's horrible shape. So once you take that off, you can get it out of the linkage. You can just shove the linkage to the side or however you'd like to do it. Carburetor will come straight towards you. Once you get it towards you a bit, you can take off that spring. Then you can take off the linkage. And now your carburetor is free. We can just pull it the rest of the way off. I'm sorry, I forgot about the ground wire that connects at the back. We'll get that with a 5/16. And then you're still connected to the positive on this side. I'm going to take this off first, kind of show you a little closer. So it's just got the two little tabs here, and all you got to do is pull one to the side and pull the other to the side, and it'll pull straight off as you do that. So just kind of push this tab out and push that tab out and pull. Now this thing has been sitting for a substantial amount of time. We're going to open it and see what it looks like, but I would bet good money we're probably going to end up replacing this. See what the inside looks like. I do have another carb here. I think it was actually from a customer because usually we'll use the Huahi brand, but sometimes people will bring us stuff and then if their mower's not worth fixing, yeah, see that needle's completely stuck in there. It's got green all over the inside. I mean, could this be rebuilt, cleaned, and put back together? Sure, it could be. I'm not going to mess with any of that, though. These things aren't expensive, and I have one in stock. And with the condition of this, I don't know that I want to mess with all that. Plenty of carb cleaning videos on these out there. We have one ourselves. I'll put a link to that down below. We're going to replace it. Go ahead and take this old gasket off. It's pretty quick and easy. Make sure that's all cleaned. Check the one on the back side too. May have an issue with that one also. You never know. This one looks good. Gasket's a little bit different there, but it'll work exactly the same. Carburetor we have here again, I think this is probably one that the customer had left over or something because normally we do get those Huahi brand ones. Seem like they're a little bit better with the needle and the seat and stuff, while these have a little bit different design. So I'm not nearly as excited about putting these on. That's why we get those others. I just always like to check the inside, make sure everything looks good, and it does. Many times when you open those up, you'll see metal shavings or stuff like that in there. There's a little clip here for shipping. A lot of people won't take that off, and then you won't get that spring action back out of it. Put just our linkage down in, and our spring. Connect our electrical as we go back. Just pushes straight down on and locks in. There we go. Get quite a straight shot to get that on with the impact. Get it started there. And just hold it in the spot where it's not going to pinch that wire. Good. Now I'll take this fuel line off and then I'm going to use some compressed air to blow the rest of that line out. Make sure it's completely clear. And also the tank. Put our fuel line back on. And if you look at the inside of that fuel line and it's all cracked or anything like that, you will want to replace it. Almost looked like I had a piece of something in here. What is that? I don't know what that was. Looks like maybe just a piece of dirt or something. And that's not the fuel line, obviously, but on the inside, if you see any cracking around the inside or separating, you want to replace that, no doubt. I'm going to reuse that same gasket because I don't have one. It looks pretty pliable. I'm going to take this choke piece straight out, just like such, set it down, and take this up. I'm going to put my choke in, and then put it straight down. My choke's still engaged, so I have to grab that on the other side real quick. I just took the throttle down so the choke came off. So now I can get it straight with the choke open and get the choke plate right back in there. So now it works if I was to choke it. Make sure that's all cleaned out. Looks like we got a bunch of kind of green gunk and slime down in there. Straight back on. We've got our line here. And then again, our EPA line coming from the tank goes up top. See what happens. Put our choke on. So with something like this that started off with very likely just a easy fix with the button on the side being bad and then sitting and gumming up the carburetor and everything. Pretty simple to get everything back up and going. No spark plug required, of course. All we're gonna do is get the engine shroud back together, a few bolts here for this, and then some keepers. The deck actually sounded great, which was very surprising considering the rock collection. And what we got here, cornhole bags tag there on the top of the deck. Pretty dirty, needs all cleaned up and everything, of course, but overall this mower's in pretty good condition. So if these customers getting it for free, I believe, or a little bit of no money, they're gonna be back up and going for not a lot of cash compared to what one of these would run new. Now, the shroud and everything is gonna be quite pricey. I did looking back, I don't have one quite the same, so I can't save them any money there. But again, I was kind of thinking all this video was gonna be about was just this safety on the side. It is kind of just about that because I think that's all that was really going on before they started tearing it apart because it needed a spark plug anyway. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.